Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another empowering episode of MomBoss Maximizer. I have a woman here who is definition mom boss. I actually have just recently gotten to know her, and I'm so excited to bring her onto the podcast because our coffee chat, I was empowered, I was inspired, and she is right sitting next to me. Lauren Mullen, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so
thrilled
excited
to be here.
Yes, me too. Me too. How are you feeling? How was this morning? Just
exciting. I love it. I mean, what a great, I've never been on a podcast I've been interviewed before as a basketball coach. And so I've had the microphone and this and all of that, but to do a podcast is pretty cool. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I know. We put on the headphones. I'm like, does this bring back memories in between at halftime?
Usually I was more
post-game?
stressed out. Yeah. This is much more fun.
Yes. So she has such an inspiring story, and and we're right here in Albany. So this is an opportunity for both of us to get to know each other, but for you to share your journey. This is what we do here. So tell us, from basketball coach to executive coach.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. I mean, much like everybody's journey, it's windy ups and downs. And, I think I didn't necessarily have a goal. I never thought I'd be an executive coach. I never thought I would be staying home with 3 kids. If you had asked me when I was 18, I probably had different visions and aspirations, but, what I am in right now, I couldn't imagine doing anything better. It's wonderful. It's great. And so I to formulate and go through, I was a Division I college basketball player at Hofstra. And I shared this when we were at coffee because I think it's a part of who I am and my journey and all of it. But I was a point guard, captain. And I think that's always important to share because I think the essence of who I am is I just try to be a great teammate. And that's part of the story from basketball to being an executive coach. And being a great teammate is really seeing the best in others, trying to pull out that best, trying to move a group of people from one place to the next and all the rides that you go on along, getting there. So I played college basketball and it was a challenging experience being a Division I athlete. Oof. It is. I mean, being
a Division I basketball player.
I think having been a Division III head coach, I will also say this: no matter the level, the sport, the sort of commitment on top and sacrifices you make to be part of that are incredible, and you can feel it. It can be exhausting in it, but if you can kind of make it through it. I mean, what it teaches you is it's something that at that age, it's hard to find that lesson, I think, in a lot of other places. So I made it through it. And, I learned a lot about myself during that. Not when I was 22, I didn't learn it. I think I reflected back and went, oh, wow.
Now I get it.
Yeah, now I get it. Now I get what the head coach was doing. Now I get where I could have been better. Now I get where there was a lesson in all of it. But so I played at Hofstra after college. I was a little, I think, lost in terms of my parents did not live where I was from anymore. My parents are divorced. My mom had moved back to the Midwest. My dad was in Tennessee. So I kind of that home wasn't there. So I moved out to Seattle, Washington, about as far as you can get.
Seriously. Is it really that gloomy there? Is it
here's
gloomy
what
here or there?
So it's gloomy from October to March.
Okay.
It's beautiful. From May to September. I'm talking beautiful. And I visited during that time, so I got tricked. Yeah. And when I visited, I had a blast. I had a college friend who lived out there, and it was great. You just did exactly what you wanted, how you wanted. And as a college athlete, you didn't get to do that a lot. So I think that...
Your traveling was going to your games.
Yes.
And going to tournaments.
It just was... Yes. So I think I was in search of that freedom. Yes. Not having any responsibility, not having to be the best, trying to be the best team player. So I just did kind of exactly what I wanted for 2 years. And I think at the end of that 2 years, I didn't find a lot of joy in that. I just wasn't somebody I really wanted to be. Although there were certainly some fun parts of that, which 23 to 25 can be, and you're living independently, you're making all your own decisions. But I just, at the end of that 2 years, and in the midst of it, I said, this isn't who I am.
That's a big identity shift.
Yeah, it
Basketball
really is.
was your life.
Yeah. and there wasn't a lot of responsibility. Again, what am I in all of this? And also, I think I was somebody that was motivated by achievement and how I can make an impact. And I wasn't doing any of that. I was just kind of living my life. And so my mom gently said, "Why don't you move in with me?"
Gently.
Yes. She actually stayed in my apartment till I packed everything up. So we packed up a U-Haul, and it was literally on my 25th birthday. Moved from Seattle, Washington to Omaha, Nebraska, where I'm not from, but did it. And, that next kind of 10 months, I was able to get a little more grounded, still experienced some more challenges, just figuring out what I wanted, who I was, which is part of the journey, especially at that age, I think. And I actually got certified to be a personal trainer, which I loved it. Being able to work.
The skills are so transitional
Totally.
From being an athlete to going to being a coach.
Yes.
Trainer.
And you get to see, but my clientele was me. Yeah,
Exactly.
It was 40s, 50s moms, who hadn't spent a lot of time on themselves and were carving out an hour to invest in themselves. So just to see them transition was really, I really enjoyed that hour with those people and being able to do that. But that, I think, connected me to, what can I do that will impact and I can achieve and I can be valuable to society and I can enjoy.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you focused on your health.
Yes.
Right. So you and then you found a purpose. So like when that health, while you were in Seattle, were you working out? Were you finding?
So I actually, in Seattle is where I got certified initially to be a personal trainer. So I think I'm like a kinesthetic person, just how I learn, moving, athlete, all of it. It's where I find confidence. Yep. It's where I found grounding. So I was certainly doing that, but I was in a lot of ways a mess. So I think, trying to get pulled back to what I knew would be really good for me. But I wasn't making other great decisions, so I think moving back in with my mom, just resettling on what's important to me was that time was really valuable, and my mom still gave me a lot of independence in that. I still had to pay rent. That's my mom.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's my mom. Yeah. So
you understand that now. You're just like, okay.
She was, but it was good. That 10 months in Omaha helped kind of recalibrate what was important to me. And during that time, I was like, I think I really miss being part of college athletics. And again, having been a point guard and a captain, I liked that piece of being able to help make somebody better and see what they're great at and blend people together. And I loved basketball, and it was a sport that then I could help others and do something I love, and the competitive nature of all of it. So at that time, the old age of 26, I actually went and was a graduate assistant. I was like because most people are 21, 22 looking for positions. I got hired at Lehigh and making $250 a year. Yep. But I did get my grad degree from Lehigh, which I never could have gotten into Lehigh. Hence, if Sue Troyne hadn't said she's going to work for us.
When I was at Villanova, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
It was just like,
I have a degree from Lehigh. Great. It's awesome. And worked with the women's basketball. And I knew this is for me. This was great to be back in athletics. I felt a part of something bigger than myself, could lean into my strengths, had a posse, all of that. And during my second year there, the assistant coach left and I applied for the assistant coach job. I was the graduate assistant and I didn't get the job. And, but my future wife got the job. So Colleen got the job.
I don't think we talked about that. So I didn't know how that happened.
Yeah. So Colleen got hired in the position I was going for.
Oh my gosh.
It all worked out. Obviously, where she came in and she was hard to dislike because I wanted to kind of dislike her. But she walked in. Number one, she was a little more qualified. I could see why Sue hired her. I was like, okay, and she was great. And obviously we connected right away. And I got to get my degree from Lehigh, which would have been a lot more challenging if I had taken on the full-time role. And so all worked out. But then, so we, for, however many years that was, kind of tried to manage and balance the two of us being coaches in the same sport, having similar aspirations, being partners, doing it all. And then we got married and during that time, I had become the head coach at NYU. Well, I went from Lehigh to Sacred Heart University, where another Division I institution. And after 4 years of there, I became the head coach at NYU. And I think part of the story too is like when I was at Lehigh as a graduate assistant, they had a recruiting coordinator position open at Sacred Heart, which I don't know that I was qualified for it, but the gentleman at the time, he wanted to hire me. And I think because we just kind of got along, there was a connection, and I was offered the job. I took the job, and I remember my first day so as a graduate assistant, you're just doing all the other jobs that nobody wants to do, which is part of it, and that's okay. But I wouldn't say that I was like heavy in recruiting. I hadn't really owned a responsibility that was mine from start to finish. But Ed Swanson was his name, and he gave me the opportunity. But the first day, I said, okay, we were still looking for a post player. Mm-hmm. And Ed had won a lot of games. And this was September 1st, which is late to be hired. Mm-hmm. And he said, yeah, we still need a post player in this class. And I said, okay, what do you need? He said, 6'2", can run like the wind, aggressive, can finish around the hoop. I'm like, okay. So I walk, everybody wants that person.
Yes.
So I walk in my office, I close the door. I'm like, what did I get myself into? What did I get myself into? Open the back.
Were you feeling like imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
Like I'm not good enough to
yeah. Like what? This. I don't have the credentials to be doing this. Mm-hmm. But then I just, open the back door. What's the first thing I need to do? Need to make a list of available posts. I just took it one step at a time.
Yeah.
We ended up being great, and I was so thankful. Ed gave me an opportunity for my resume didn't necessarily say, "Hey, she should have this position."
You saw that,
but and he gave me the opportunity, and it was an opening, and I took it and stepped into it and did my very best. And same story, that same fall, I sent Ed down to Virginia Beach, and he did this home visit and the whole shebang. And he comes back on the plane. So he took 72 hours away from his family, away from the program to do this because I said, this girl's going to be great. She comes back. He puts down the transcript on my desk after he gets back, and he goes, she's not eligible.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh, no. So you just, a mistake. Yeah, it was just a mistake. She told me she was a B student. Uh-huh. Well, it was my first time being a recruiting coordinator. I didn't know to really look at the transcript. And he just.
But she fed everything else.
Yeah,
I checked the boxes.
She did. But so it was a learning process for me, and you're going to make mistakes along the way. I didn't beat myself up too bad about it. I felt bad, wasted the time, the resources, the money, but I got to move on.
But what a great path to be in, because like you said from before, with now being an executive coach and finding the strengths, and what you were doing is finding the potential, finding the strengths. And this is why I guarantee if you were to take the Strength Finder, have you heard of, did we talk about that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we talked about a couple different assessments.
That's why I call this MomBoss Maximizer. The first strength of mine is Maximizer. And it's find the potential in people and using your strengths.
Sure.
So here you are, you're like, okay, let me use my strengths, and it's all about relationship building, right?
Yeah, sure.
With that. Yeah. And how did that prepare you for, and how much did that prepare you for?
The mistake I made? Or
all of it, for being in that position that you didn't think you were qualified for.
Yeah, so I think I think part of what has helped me, be successful or just, be content and happy and have achieved something.
And still be you.
Yes, exactly. Is that when I make a mistake, generally, I take accountability for the mistake. I look at what I could have done differently, and I try to just move through it. And the opportunity that Ed gave me to be in that role of making decisions, pointing him in a direction, what happened is I made some mistakes, which anybody's going to. He didn't micromanage me. He let me, but that prepared me to be a head coach, because as a head coach, you're going to have to make all sorts of decisions, and you're going to make mistakes. Yeah. All the time in front of people. Yeah. And that helped prepare me. I think innately kind of how I'm built a little bit, it lent itself to that.
Of course.
But also he put me in the position and let me go. And
go fly.
Yeah, exactly. And make mistakes and know what it feels like to make a mistake, to fail. How do you get back from it? How do you learn from it? How do you put one foot in front of the other?
And that's the message you give to your athletes.
Absolutely.
And now to your children.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Just
absolutely.
This is why I love what we do.
Yes. Completely. And, as a head coach, I think it's, I was a head coach for 6 years at New York University. Again, I don't know if I was ready for that. I don't know if, I was qualified for it, but I was given the opportunity. And, the woman who hired me, Hall of Fame coach, I mean, she had like an 80% winning percentage. Janice Quinn, she's still the senior women's administrator there. And I mean, she could win at any top level Division I team. I mean, she was a fantastic coach and a great administrator. But I remember when she was in the interviewing process, she said to me, she goes, look, I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly here. Which I so appreciated. She didn't sugarcoat. I mean, everybody knows NYU. Who wouldn't love NYU? Right, but she's like, the good is that we're NYU. Right? We're NYU. Yeah, everyone knows us. It's a fantastic school. It's in New York City. We've won before. Here's the bad. It costs X amount of money. At this time, we don't give great financial aid, so you're climbing an uphill battle. And then the ugly is we have one returning player. So is this still a job you want? And again, I hung up the phone and I was like, "Ooh, is it a job?" And Ed even said to me, "Are you sure you want to do this for your first?" And
Clean
and I did.
slate.
Yeah, kind of.
Which
you get
is
to build.
really exciting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you just have to, and you have to grind it out and figure it out. And again, I was anxious and nervous, and you have all those thoughts that are, can I do
this?
it? Yeah. Am I going to be able to do this?
And you fucking did.
Yes, I did. There were moments where I felt like I didn't, but
I mean,
at the end of it, we had, I had a winning record. Yes, I felt like I had a good and strong positive impact on my student athletes, was a great member of the community as a whole at NYU. And, when you're a head coach, and I think this applies to so many places, and my first year, we lost a lot. And, and that was to be expected. We had all freshmen and all this. But even at other times during that journey of being a head coach, we lost games that I felt like we shouldn't lose, or even we lost games that I'm going, okay, this makes sense. But if I equated my value to winning and losing, which and being sometimes, in the professional world and in coaching, it's very black and white. You either achieve,
measure it,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. And it was going to be like a really lonely place. So natural as a competitor and wanting to be, seen as successful and achieving, I wanted to win all the games, and it bothered me when we didn't. But I always tried to recalibrate myself back to why am I coaching? What's important in all of this? What can I evaluate my success on that has nothing to do with the score?
Analysis,
yeah. And so when I was able to do that, for example, there was one season where we were 17-0. We were ranked third in the country.
Wow.
At NYU.
What year was this?
That was my fourth year at NYU. I can't remember the exact year, to tell you the truth, because I was hired there in 2012. So maybe it was 2015-ish, 16. So we were 17-0, and we'd beat two teams on the road that were really hard to beat, and then we went on a 7-game losing streak in conference. Man.
Wow.
And
just a blow to the ego.
Yeah, and I had some seniors on the team that they meant a lot to me. They were part of that first team they were freshmen, had weathered that, and
you molded them.
Yeah, and they molded me too.
Yeah.
I mean, they really taught also me about just showing up when you're 18. If they can do this and this is really hard, then I can do this, So I think I just had so much appreciation for what they had done for our program and for me personally, Yeah. So in that 7-game losing streak, it wasn't just why are we losing, which was part of it. And me trying to figure out ways to motivate them. I just had to stand back and go, okay, what is the opportunity in all of this? Which is I can be a great example of how to handle this rocky road for these, 18 to 22-year-olds. How can I be an example of that, of resiliency, showing up, continuing to be positive, continue trying to problem solve, believing in them. So when I tried to recalibrate that around the success, I didn't feel so bad. I felt better.
Yeah.
It was just some freedom in that. And so that was a great learning lesson for me in that year. Also, I recognized how hard it was to win. When you're 17, you're just it's hard, but you don't really realize how hard it is to win.
Maintaining that sustainability of that is
and also to enjoy the win.
Yes.
Like, and so we finally won.
I understand that.
We finally won.
You just on to the next one. On to the next one.
Exactly.
So you're not really
You're an
embracing.
achiever. Boom,
Yes.
boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. Another thing I achieved. Another thing we achieved. Another thing we achieved.
This is so important for the athletic mentality.
Yeah.
For all athletes, experience this.
Totally.
And then it transition to coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we won, and I remember walking to the locker room, and we hadn't played very well, but we won. And I said, I'm going to enjoy every minute of this win, just appreciate how we were able to fight through it. And so that was like a great moment in the coaching. But to continue on, so I was the head coach there at NYU, and in those 6 years I was at NYU, Colleen and I got married. We had a baby, Maggie, and she was the associate head coach at Army, where their team had experienced a ton of success as well. And then we had twin boys. So we went from
you are
just like
high on life.
Yes, and
personally and professionally.
I mean, we are experiencing so much joy and abundance and like success and greatness, but I mean, we are being pulled in a million directions. Yeah. So now you have two she's Division I assistant coach and associate head coach. I'm Division III head coach. We live in the middle. I'm commuting an hour and 40 minutes.
Wow. Every day.
She's commuting 45 around a mountain, and we have 3 children in Westchester. I mean, we are hanging on by a thread in terms of just being able to like make it work,
survival mode.
Yeah, totally. And at the end of that 6th year, both of us kind of were like, something probably has to change here, because I don't know that any of us are doing what we want to be doing at the highest level we can, just in terms of like being present and consistent and giving the time and effort. So,
and kind of I have a question. What is that highest level at this point in both of your mindsets? Like, where did you want to go? Yeah. This is your 6th year, and Colleen was where?
She was the associate head coach. She had been there for 7 years.
7 years. Okay, so you're
and
both.
We had both.
You've been doing this for 6-7 years.
Yes.
That
yes.
Travel, and now 3 kids.
Yes, and we added, right. So the last year when we were like, okay, this is too much. Yeah. Like having 3 kids in Westchester, not living near, not having any family. And when I say like success, I just mean whenever I was somewhere, I felt like I had to be somewhere else. And having 2 people like that. Yeah. Having to also rely on nannies, and we had to fire our nanny in the middle of that year too. So it was like, it just wasn't something I couldn't show up. I think that's kind of
be like fully present.
Yes, I couldn't
in those roles
and be prepared. Like I felt in some ways in my last year of being a head coach, I just wasn't as prepared, and both mentally, spiritually, physically, for my team. And then when I was at home, it was kind of the same.
Did you feel like you were just letting your team down? Your school down?
Yes.
Your children down?
Yeah,
your
exactly.
wife down?
It's just and we were both doing jobs that were pulling us in all those directions. Yeah. And so we had both gone for Division I head coaching jobs before and had been finalists, and but hadn't gotten the jobs. And this year we just said, you know what, like I think we need to more aggressively go, both of us, for Division I jobs. So, I was a finalist at UMass Lowell, which is 10 minutes from where Colleen grew up. Okay. So I didn't get the job. The next 2 weeks, Colleen interviewed at UAlbany and did get the job. So we were in this position where, and UAlbany, as much as it would have been wonderful, her family is great and really supportive, and just, it would have been great to be there in that community. Yeah. UAlbany gave us the opportunity. I could stay home because in terms of cost of living and just the community as a whole. So,
so different from Westchester.
Yeah. Oh, or right outside Boston, Massachusetts.
Yes.
Like it's, it's just more of a grind. It's more expensive.
Wow.
So you all,
the timing of this
blessing was so I went from, being a Division III head coach and
NYU
interviewing.
Division III?
It is. Yeah.
Is it D1 or D2 in other sports?
No, it used to be many, many years ago, Division I. Okay. I think it's just like the notoriety of the school and the alum that many people think. But the conference it competes in, I mean, you get a lot of Division I level athletes, and but no, it's Division III. It's so, within that month, I went from being the Division III head coach in Westchester to potentially being the Division I head coach at UMass Lowell to being a stay-at-home mom at UAlbany, all within. So just a transition of like my roles, and I tell you what, like if you would have asked me 3 years from that date of Colleen getting the UAlbany job, like, would you be willing to not be a coach? I would have said yes, because I knew it was the right answer. But like in my heart, I would have been like probably resentful about it a little bit.
Of course.
Felt like I didn't see my kind of vision through all of those sorts of things. But after having kids and knowing, you know, this was a new team I was a part of, again, kind of just going back to what can I help my family do and be their best. It was an easy answer for me.
It's a different, deeper purpose and a different, deeper why.
Yep.
That shifted.
Yep.
Especially after everything that you both were juggling.
Yeah. And I just said, logistically, I'll be the one here. And I'll just do my very best to support you, Colleen. And and talk about a mom boss. I mean, Colleen is a mom boss. I mean, she carried all 3 of our kids. Associate head coach, recruited one of the best players of the Patriot League.
Still rocking those heels.
She's rocking
on the
heels
court with the bump.
Yeah. I mean, she's just she's dynamite, right? So my role was to help support her, so she didn't have to stress about that. She knew somebody was home, available, and being a Division I head coach of a program that had been really successful was stressful enough for the first time being a head coach too. So I was home with our 3 kids. Boys were 1, Maggie was 3. And I think I shared this with you, never in a million years. Like if you had a superlative in high school in the yearbook that said least likely to be home, driving a minivan in a white picket fence neighborhood, my picture would have been next to it. They're just nobody. Yeah. And it just didn't fit the vision I had for my life. And I don't think I'm innately, nobody would say Lauren's really a caretaker. I'm a supporter, I'm a coacher, I'm a advocate, I'm a motivator, but I don't think they pictured me in that kind of typical mom role. And but I tell you what, having kids, it's certainly have found my caretaking nature, which kind of comes out more. So I stayed home with them in the minivan, rocking it, and those couple years were a real challenge. I mean, not for me necessarily in a role, but Colleen being a first-time head coach and experiencing all that she was kind of moving through. I mean, again, talk about a success story. She was 1-9 to start. 1-9.
Was she really?
1-9. And
that's frustrating. That's discouraging to start off with.
Yeah, somebody who Colleen's achieved at everything she's done, and that was difficult for her and for us. And but I knew Colleen was going to be great. Colleen will be great at anything she does. There's no she just had to ride the wave, which is really hard. And look at her now.
Oh my God.
What I mean?
You're such a good wife. She's
easy.
I get filled up just hearing you be so supportive.
She's a rock star. She is.
Oh my
literally,
goodness.
you put her in any role, and she will just because she's really good at figuring out what needs to be done, and then she does it. And she's really smart. So she figured it out. But during that time, so even within that year, right, she was 1-9 and flipped the script. They ended up being 3rd or 4th in the league because she kind of figured it out and her team got behind, what they were trying to do. And the rest is, history right now. They have a great record.
Great.
And so anyways, we, at that time, 1-9, we weren't sure we made the right decision, but
with the twins and your 3-year-olds.
Exactly. What are we doing? But we figured our way through it. And
Albany's a little difficult at first for people to adjust to. And that's what I hear a lot. I mean, I'm from here. Yeah. I moved away and then moving back. It's very family oriented. It's
a lot of people from here.
A lot of people from here. They stay here. So, and at UAlbany, being an athlete there and also being a supporter, it's the culture and the support is there.
Yeah.
But it always can be better.
Yeah,
I always feel like that way about Albany. I'm like, what? Come on, we don't have, this is the this is the capital.
Yeah.
And this is a D1 program. Do people understand the essence and the beauty of this?
Yeah.
And it's just because it's ingrained in us and the passion of being athletic and what that entails to of an athletic program.
Yeah.
So I am sure that was difficult too, from coming where you both came from.
Yes.
And then having a D1 program, and I'm not sure that the operations and the admin and everything. So, but that is a challenge itself.
Yeah. There certainly were adjustments in all of it. I think although I think when you're moving, so we moved to Del Mar, which is has that kind of small town feel.
Yes.
People come back there because they love it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that are from there and stayed there. And, but I found, I think it was so much easier than Westchester that I was just like, oh, it's easy.
It's small, bunny.
I can get from point A to point B
Yes.
without traffic, or I don't have to pay to park. I don't have to pay I don't have to pay to park here. To go to the grocery store. You know what I mean? Those, and so with kids, I was just so appreciative. It was easy because having a spouse that's a Division I head coach, that's not easy. Having 3 kids under 3, not easy. Transitioning role, not easy. And so I found the community to be easy, which was nice, just the logistics of it. And we were able to get into a great preschool and, it's able to kind of get settled. And again, I kind of found my role as my role is to try to connect with other families. So I did my best, and I've been able to create a really great community of family and friends, in the Bethlehem, Albany area.
That's so good.
And it's so valuable to my kids and to Colleen and our family needs it. We don't have any family in this area. So, and Colleen has to work a lot. And there's still 3 kids under, 8. We're pulled in a lot of directions. So I have to lean on people. And
where did you go to? What was some of the things in the area that you said Bethlehem, but was it businesses? Was it certain people?
Yeah, I think it's just like you and I. I think I was willing to just share, this is really hard. I have 3 kids. The
vulnerability.
There we go. So here's a perfect example. Maggie went to preschool, a half-day preschool, and I would pick her up, and I had my boys, and they were 2 years old, a year and a half. If I got them out of the car, it was a nightmare. Just getting them out of the car seat, and we were going in every direction, and I would have to go up these stairs and then corral the 3-year-old and get her down the stairs with the twin boys. I was in a full-blown sweat. So
don't you wish there was a camera on you?
Oh my guys, talk about a podcast and a YouTube channel that people would watch. That if they had,
I say that about our family too.
Yes, crazy.
I would have watched that.
Yes, they'd be like, see, it's hard for her too. So what I realized is I have to befriend some of these moms so they can watch my minivan, so I can go get Maggie or literally I'd say, hi, okay, you're Brett, I'm Lauren, great. I have 2 1.5-year-old boys in there. I don't want to get them out. Would you mind just watching the minivan while I went and got Maggie? And you know what? Most moms are like, absolutely.
Yes,
I would never want to take 1.5-year-olds. They would look in and, they'd be like crazy little, boy. Oh yeah, you want to leave them right there.
Oh my God.
So right away, I was just able to find moms.
Yeah.
That were really willing to help.
And you got to embrace it. You had to lean in on
and
it.
they thought it was funny and great. And so that's where I made some great friends, even just initially. It was just asking for some help.
Yes.
And being who I was and, and
but I'm sure that had been hard.
Yeah.
Asking for help.
Yeah.
Just as someone who you are.
Yes. But it was easier than walking up those stairs. And to see, and what it was hard is just kind of figuring out who would be most open to it, and once I knew kind of the vibe of people, then once she's so nice and personable, she'll definitely do it.
Yeah.
And people would, even then it started, do you want me to watch the boys? They'd see me, or do you want me to grab Maggie? And so that's what evolved out of it.
And that's the thing too. Eyes are on you. Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. Or people don't know who you are just because that is a local celebrity.
Yeah,
that is someone who's in,
she said sometimes I want to go to the grocery store with a mustache and a hat because it's
Yes.
Yeah. She's on. Yeah.
So for you to be, the wife of the Division I women's UAlbany basketball coach, I'm sure that had to be difficult too.
I wasn't very good
at are you always the wife, or are you oh no, I'm Lauren? Did you ever?
Well, both. I think it's both. I think, Colleen never pegs me as the wife because she doesn't see me that, she sees me as a whole other different entity but I have to I'm Colleen's wife, my name's Lauren, and that's the way. But in that community, I was Maggie's mom, and I was Lauren, and they got to know me through that vehicle. And, I think I was just an authentic mom who needed some help and was a little out of her element. Yeah. You saw other moms, they had the train of ducklings going up there, but that was not, mine were not ducklings who were going to stay in a row. I know who those little rascals are, and they are not staying in that row. So that's how I was able to build, I think, community, is just being friendly with people, asking their story. Yeah. Knowing I needed a little help, and people were very willing to help. And, during another part of that kind of story during that time is, I didn't realize it because I was with them all the time, but Callan was having kind of some significant delays with communication, and I to be honest with you, I just thought he was easy because he didn't move around. Like there were just some things he laid down a lot. He was kind of in his own world. And compared to my other guy who was moving all over the place and having the 3-year-old, like he just was my easy guy. And Colleen kind of after the season was like, man, because she had been in and out. And also Colleen's nature is she does not, I can be a little more like, let me bury my head in the sand and just move forward. Yeah. Where Colleen is much more like, something's going on here. Like let's, and
that's good. That's the compliment of each other.
Yeah. Right? And she, just said, I think something's going on here.
But you're in it every single day. You see them every single day.
Every single day.
Less time. She's recognizing
she
something.
is, and she said, I think we need to get him evaluated and for ASD, autism spectrum disorder. And so he was 2 at that time. We called and Albany Med, and they said it'll be a year before he can be evaluated. We're going, oh my goodness, a year, so we're defeated. And
did your primary send you to Albany Med to get, or you just went there first?
Yeah. Okay. So our primary was actually kind of like, which I think this is a little bit how they were kind of like, maybe wait a little. Because he's a social guy. Maybe
I got the same thing too.
Yeah. Yes. So, but Colleen is not a waiter. I, by nature, might be a little more of a waiter. Like she was like, we ain't waiting. Oh. You know what I mean? Like,
advocate now.
Yeah. So again, a part of our story is Colleen shared. She shared with her boss what was going on with our boys, and because we weren't sure Brendan had some signs, but we weren't as concerned about Brendan. We were more concerned about Callan, and she was sharing with her boss at that time. Currently Mark Benson, and Mark said, you know what, give me 10 minutes. I know somebody. And, we try not to like pull the name card on, Colleen's position and job, but there it was like, this is okay if you know somebody. And
pull the damn card sometimes.
Absolutely.
When it comes to your children, you pull the card.
And Albany Med called us, within a week and said we can get him in, in the next few months. And I tell you what, we went to another place first actually that was able to get him in a little faster. And they said to wait and see. It was a nurse practitioner with both the boys, wait and see. And, we just said, no, we're not going to wait. Like innately, we know, why is he right now he's on the ground. He's looking at the wheels of the car. He isn't speaking at 2. Yes, he's social. Like he likes people, but that's his personality. Yeah. That he still has some real deficits in communication and seems to be in his own world. He hit enough tickers for us to like.
Mama's intuition knows best.
Like something's going on, you know? So then we got him with Albany Med, and that doctor was wonderful. She went with the mom's intuition, and she watched and said, with Brendan, could go either way. With Callan, I'm pretty sure he's on the spectrum. And calling it, obviously you're going to feel all the feels around what that means, but
scary. Yeah,
just what does that mean? Yeah. But at that moment too, we were like relieved that, okay, so now we can get a plan, like to help them, right? And so with Brendan, she kind of said, the diagnosis will help him get services. Said, give him the diagnosis then. So
we'll take
got all sorts of services by the time they were 2.5. And they've had significant strides in their communications and the personalities. And I mean, the personalities are the same as they were then, but they can just be seen a little more clearly. And, both of them certainly have challenges, but I mean, they are lights. I mean, they are just both like wonderful little boys that get the right support. And, so that was going on in Colleen's first and second year, me being home, all of that. Then COVID hit. Oof. Being home, doing the therapies, her trying to, all that.
So that must have been a lot of pressure and stress on you.
Yes.
Because your role was, let me advocate, take care of my babies.
Yeah.
This is my role right now, and support Colleen in this new adventure.
Yeah.
D1 has a lot of pressure to it too.
Totally.
So it's like she's experiencing that pressure, you're experiencing this pressure. That is a lot.
Yeah. And Colleen is a winner. Like that's what she does. Yeah. Like I'm telling you, like she just is that sort of person. You could put her at the top of a sales team and leading a sales team, she would win at that.
I love her intensity. I love her intensity.
And she's just like, she's just a winner. So I think also not just like the pressure of Division I, but she wants to win at things. Yeah. Like she wants to be successful. She wants to help others be successful. So, she's in the process of doing that while our boys are getting diagnosed with ASD and being just 2.5-year-old boys, which is a whole other,
now with the services, I think I shared with you how Bria, once I was really heavily advocating for Bria with the developmental pediatricians.
Yeah.
It took a long time to actually get the services and come in. Did they come into the house?
Yeah, so we did. It was both. Like we had some when they were younger, they came to the house, like 2 and 3. And we also did ABA therapy, which can be a little controversial it kind of has a bad rap of the old ABA therapy. It was like punitive, I guess, or something. I'm not sure but what we found, it was there's a lot of positive reinforcement. It's advanced behavioral analysis therapy.
Okay.
And it really just, kind of, for us, we found with our boys, it helped give them a lot of positive affirmation around communication, also gave them small goals. And if they could consistently do those small goals, then they got a positive affirmation around it. And then they continued to do that. So their communication, I mean, it just, for both of them, they went from really not having a lot of words at 2.5, if any, to, by the time both of my boys talk non-stop.
Don't you love seeing that growth? But like the perfect
non-stop.
parents to be.
Yeah. Non-stop.
You're coaches.
Yes.
And
and it was a good blend again for Colleen and I. Colleen she's a bulldog. Like she is she's a mother lion. Like she was not going to take no for an answer, which again, I think my nature of like being that good teammate, a little more of like I would have been a little more passive in that actually, but she was not. I think I think a strength of mine is I just show up. I do the next thing. So the next thing was I had to drive them 35 minutes to Schenectady every day, and so that was my job. I put the boys in there. We went there. After there, we grabbed Maggie, and, but again, like when I really look at it, how lucky am I for our boys that I can do this?
Exactly.
There's other families, they have to ask a grandma or they can't do it or
just think if you would have gotten the job, that's why when you look back at your journey,
it's unbelievable.
It's supposed to be aligned, how it has been.
Yeah, and so we were able to do that with the services, and they went to a great preschool, Spotted Zebra, which was wonderful. They went there for 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just great, and now they're in kindergarten and doing wonderful. I mean,
That's
I mean, again, there's challenges especially for Cal, but he is such a brave guy that tries to walk through it, and so yes, it was a big transition. It was a lot of pressure for both of us to kind of figure out these new roles, to be good at these new roles. And I shared this with you 2 years into me being home with the kids. I was enjoying it. I didn't have a lot of resentment. People would ask me, hey, do you miss coaching? What a big sacrifice. Wow, you really sacrificed. And I was like, I mean, Colleen and I both sacrificed. I mean, she has to be away from her kids. She is there's a lot of pressure on her.
Wow. That's huge of you just to even recognize that too.
I mean, but it was...
You're like, not just me, her too.
Yeah, this is yes, I mean, she is grateful for this opportunity, but it's also a hard opportunity that she's doing. And so I didn't have a lot of resentments or felt like I enjoyed being home with my boys. I enjoyed being home with Maggie, something I never thought I'd want. But it was great and wonderful. But at the end of it was about 2 years, Colleen looks at me and she said, I think you should go back to work. And I was like, why? I go,
why?
I said, why? Are we financially? Do you think she goes, no. She goes, I think you're going cuckoo. I was like, oh, am I? And she's like, yeah, I think you kind of need something else besides which is hard and wonderful and great. But just,
it's another purpose.
Yes, doing something else too. So I made a bunch of phone calls to people, some that I knew, some that other people connected me to that were familiar with my transferable skills of being a basketball coach and kind of maybe personally knew something about me, but also so they could kind of see it through that framework. But I wanted to hear their story on how, because I didn't really know, you have an idea of what this profession does or what that profession. So if I'm going to transfer to another profession, what do they do? What does the day look like? Exactly. So can you walk me through it? Ask them, how do you think some of my transferable skills would fit into that?
Now, the mentors and people in your network who you reached out to, were they all basketball related or people from just colleges you worked with?
Yep, both and all that. Some were coaches, some were former coaches, some were parents of former players, some were former teammates, friends. One actually happened to be, she's lives in Albany locally, and she knew Colleen from the Boston area. She played at Bentley, and she's done really well in professionally. And she was, I don't know what her position at that time was, but she was pretty high up on executive staff for a local healthcare company. Actually, it's national, but it was the local branch. And so I called her just to see, what suggestions maybe in that realm would be a good fit. And she said to me, she goes, Lauren, and she was one of many phone calls I made. She goes, I have this position. It's a per diem sales position. And the Albany market needs one. You could work from home. It's super flexible. We could pay you well enough, in that role, and I kind of hung up, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if that really plays into my why,
yeah.
And, and also I think my ego is I want to be head of sales, baby. That's who I am.
Better than that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the manager. Yeah, exactly. But then I thought about I said, you know what? My main role right now is to help my family. The boys are 3. Colleen's still in the thick of it. Maggie's first year in kindergarten. It's the end of COVID, kind of COVID coming out of that whole thing. And I kind of put it over here. Let me think about it. And, I said to Colleen, I was like, God, but if I take the job, what if I hate it? And us as athletes, and you don't quit
give
stuff.
up.
You don't quit stuff. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yes.
Right. And Colleen looked at me, she goes, if you don't like it, then quit. I was like,
what is that word?
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean? She goes, well, you don't have to do it, but you can try. And once she kind of gave me the
that validation of
you can, if it doesn't fit, yeah, don't worry. This isn't, you don't have to
you've been that person for her.
Yeah. And she was
So
she was so supportive in that. And
oh my God, I love you guys. Can we all go out?
Yeah,
I just need, you guys hear this? Colleen,
Yeah.
Lauren, we're all going to hang out.
Yeah, she was great.
Just me.
And I was like, wait, quit? And she was like, yeah, if you don't like it, you just quit. I'm like, okay. Yeah, so I thought about it. And again, I was so grateful that she even, because again, she knew our makeup of our family, what was being asked of me and what was all. But during that time, I also talked to a former Division I head coach who had become an executive coach. And when I was talking to her, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And Colleen had been in the back of my ear the whole time, you should do this. This would be so good for you. It speaks to what you love to do. I've always been the basketball coach, the player that reads the teamwork books and the leadership books and the business books and not so much on how to achieve goals, but how can you make it all work together?
Yeah, how can you blend
how can people feel good and learn stuff about their experience? I was always into that.
It's ingrained in you. Core value, loved that growth.
Loved it as a basketball coach, and so when I was speaking to her, but I just again. I didn't think I had the energy to start a business. I was going to have to get certified, and for me that was important to do, and then to start a business in the midst of what I was doing. And I wouldn't say innately I'm an entrepreneurial spirit. I'm somebody who likes to have flexibility and likes to lead, but I think there's a real special person who has an entrepreneurial spirit of vision, can do it, see that vision on their own, then pull the people, all those sorts of things. I
don't think we were ever born knowing we were going to be entrepreneurs. It's just you. It's the skills that are in you. It's your mind. It's your mindset.
Yeah, and I think,
really is.
and I think that again, you have to be a self-starter, which I think innately I'm a little more of let's get a group together to start it, And I wasn't going to have that group, so I don't think I was ready in that conversation to start that.
Yeah.
And so I took on the role as a per diem sales, and I'm still doing it. I still do it.
Oh, you are still doing it.
I still do it in addition to my executive coaching business. And so I do, because the person I work for, her name is Kira, and she is, and my team that I work with, they're too, I love it. I love it, being part of that team. And Kira, I learn a lot from her. She's a wonderful manager and leader, and it's too hard to walk away from. I can fit it into my life. And not for nothing, I like making money. It's
it's a motivator.
It's
you have 3
easy,
children.
Yeah, it's an easy way for me to make some money to do that. My boss is easy and wonderful to work for.
It's also, it's sales.
Yeah.
And everything is sales.
Absolutely. And
Especially
customer service.
Yes. And having your own
Yeah.
business,
Yeah.
you're still doing that.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is transitional as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I still do that as a portion, but it fit into my life. It still fits into my life because it's so flexible. And my boss is so wonderful. And she
That's
does a
great.
great job. I think, and I kind of see my role in that. And that team is really, I'm just support staff. That's what I do. I support staff. How can I make other people on my team's job a little easier? How can I add value? And at first I kind of felt bad because I'm like coming in and out, and some days my kids are sick, and I take a day off, like for this, I'm cleared my whole schedule with them, and am I still bringing value because I'm not showing up every day in the same way that all of them are? But Kira, my boss, does such a great job of just like, I don't need all the positive information all the time, but when she can, she says like, great, whenever you can work, we love it.
That's a great relationship and understanding.
So it makes me want to, when I can work, I work for her.
And they knew that going in too.
Yeah.
Just like you were very clear on that.
Yes.
Like,
and
this is where I'm at. This is who I am. This is what my life looks like.
And she has been wonderful. So
I don't think men would go into that. Like this is where I think men and women are so different. Our moms are so different of taking on communicating that and being vulnerable in that piece of in the work environment.
Yes. And I think at first it was hard for me because it was, where do I see this position going within this organization? And actually twice I was potentially going to work full time for them, because that would make the next step for me. That would make sense, but then I kind of stepped back both times and was like, I don't know if I want to do this full time. And number two, I still think I need more flexibility. Yep. Yeah. And so that was part of the journey. And then I think it was just about a year and a half ago, maybe a year and a half ago. I kind of was like, maybe I do want to get certified. Maybe I'm ready to get certified to coach.
This is where the magic happens.
Yes, that's where it all started. So this is part of the, so I made a few phone calls to people who were coaches, like, what is the process? Will I make money? Because I don't want to like invest all this time. Yep. Again, like I know I'm going to enjoy it now. Like this is something I'm going to enjoy, but what do I have to do to also make it monetarily worth my time, being away from my kids, changing out of what I'm doing now? So once I kind of heard, yes, you can make money and this is how you can do it, that was kind of the final stamp for me of like, go for it. Yeah. And so I called the woman who headed up this one training that had been recommended to me, Center of Coaching Excellence. I called her and she said, yeah. So she told me about the training curriculum, and it's relatively, you meet once a week.
What's it called? Share with us.
Yeah. Center for Coaching Excellence.
Okay. So is this where you're getting the certification?
Yes.
Okay. And then what's the certification called?
ICF.
ICF.
Yep.
Okay.
ICF. And I'm ACC level executive coach. Okay. So you do this curriculum for X amount of hours. I believe it's 60 hours in total. We ended up doing a bit more, so it's course curriculum where you're in the class online, live.
Oh,
yeah. So
you're not doing it in your own time. You're actually
and then you have work otherwise.
Yes.
But you got to show up. There's 3 weekends that you do it, like full day, and then once a week for a couple hours you do it, and then you have homework, reading. There's some mentor coaching. You have to do coaching hours within it. There's not a big investment in terms of time. Again, I have this flexible job and a wonderful boss. And I tell her I'm going to get certified, so I'm going to be not working as much. Great. Wonderful. When you can work, we'd love to have you.
Wow.
So I'm like,
wow.
Okay, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like she's
taking
just
advantage
the best.
of this opportunity.
Yeah,
right
she's
now.
just the best. She was the best. So went through the curriculum, and during that time got the LLC, did Rise Above Coaching, went through the process of, getting the website, really what did I want this to look like? What did clientele, the target market, kind of doing all that stuff that was unfamiliar to
Isn't
me.
this so cool? It's exciting.
It is exciting. But
how did you, can I interrupt? Share with our audience about this. And this is where a lot of women are now, when I have listeners or people who talk and ask questions of like, this moment of you starting your business and you first reached out to people. Okay. You asked questions, you leaned in, which is hard enough as it is, but you did that. Second, you acknowledged you needed help and support on how to start. 2, you invested in a coach and a program to elevate the experience and to gain that credibility and more knowledge and wisdom in order to apply what you're going to be coaching.
Sure.
3, this is where the fun part happens of like, holy shit, how do you do an LLC?
Yeah.
How do you,
No idea.
What's the name of this? Or what's branding? Like all these
like
other
once I name it,
questions.
I've named it. Like
Yeah,
I gotta really
right?
think about it.
Yes.
It's like naming a kid kind of. I mean, it's a little more flexible, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of pressure behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel during this time?
Out of my element.
Yeah.
You know, like out of my element. I think in our marriage, like calling somebody who like takes care of a lot of that stuff, like she's, you know, like with an LLC, she has an LLC she just is like really competent with that sort. Not that I'm not, but it just, okay, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
I can get a little more overwhelmed with those details of, okay, you got to click that and fill out that form.
Yeah.
And, you know,
It's outside the comfort zone.
Yeah, but I did it, and I have an LLC now, and I got the tax ID and the whole thing, and pick
It's
the
a piece
name.
of paper.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
a tax ID.
Yeah, and it's like you have to be in the press or something. You have to. I forget what it is. You
Articles
have
of
to,
Confederation.
Yes, I was like, what do I have to do?
Yes.
So I had to read it like 3 times. Like, okay, I have to contact.
Make sure it's stamped.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
everything. Yes.
exactly. So,
But
you
these are the types of steps that
Yeah.
a lot of us don't know, and a lot of women and men just need support on.
Yeah.
And instead of Googling it, it's always like, who can I go to? Who's willing to help me with these things they're very confusing, and it's just it's time consuming.
Right.
So those little time consuming things.
Yes.
And then once you're done, you're done.
Yeah, exactly. I put them on my to-do list, and I didn't bite off more than I could chew.
Yes,
I just, you know,
that.
today I'm going to do this. I'm going to get a tax ID number, like, you know, and I went through the appropriate steps, and I you know, it felt like I was like, yeah, I did it. You know, I did all these steps while having other stuff go on, and so the LLC got done, and named the company, and got the website up, and started to just get create awareness behind the fact that I was changing careers. So the first markets I kind of started to really tell was college athletics, because, you know, that's where a lot of my connections were.
Yeah.
That's probably a world I felt comfortable in. And also having been a head coach, being married to a head coach, they need executive coaching. I mean, it's a lot of, that sitting in that seat is, talk about pressure.
Yeah.
You know, and the role of an executive coach is just to provide a timeout for people. You know, you're often on like this hamster wheel, and you are just like doing the best you can within that hamster wheel. And you come up across all sorts of challenges, obstacles, some opportunities for growth. But when you're on the hamster wheels, I find it's often hard to really reframe, come up with a plan, attack it. And the executive coach provides a pause button so you can get off the hamster wheel for an hour, you know, and really explore what's going on for you. And it's doing it with somebody who's not your spouse, who's not your friend, who's not your boss, who's not your coworker, who have all sorts of different biases into that conversation. It's just somebody listening actively, asking questions that help that person dive deeper into what's going on for them. You know, what really is their goal? What is their challenge?
That
why is it
empathetic listening?
Yeah, why is it? Right?
You can relate.
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of get to the heart of whatever it is, whether it's a goal or it's a challenge. And you know, at the end of that conversation in that hour, you've hopefully, if it's been a worthwhile time, you've navigated. You know, what are we trying to accomplish within this hour? You know, what's the focus? You know, not just talking.
Yep.
Talking's important too, but that's kind of for coffee.
Yeah.
If you're paying someone to be your executive coach, at the end of it, it's what's the focus? What's the goal of this conversation? What do you want to have accomplished by the end of it?
What do you want the outcome to be?
Exactly.
Yes.
And then, you know, again, but it has to be, that outcome has to be attached to your heart. Otherwise, if that mind and that heart aren't connected, you're not really it's not something you're going to be able to consistently stick with.
Sustainability.
Yeah, exactly. And so when those two are connected, that's what those questions are about. The active listening is figuring out how to connect to those two.
I love that, Lauren.
Yeah. And then but that's what, for me, the training in executive coaching did for me. Like innately, I'm a coach. Yeah. Like I want to motivate. I want somebody to be their best. I want them to get to their goals. But how can I do that?
But it's different on the one-on. How can you do that and serve them and help them? And it's both personally and professionally.
Absolutely.
So it's blending those two. Yeah,
absolutely. So, and then at the end of that, hour, and you've out of that why and kind of connection, and you create an actionable plan. What are just some small steps you can take from now to the next section? That can get you closer to what your overall goal is. And you break them down. You make them really attainable, time-specific, steps that connect your mind to your heart and get you where you want to be. And again, the goal of an executive coach is getting you from your current reality to where you want to go, you know, and there's a whole lot of stuff that's got to happen. And
that's the bridge.
Yeah.
And that's what you're like bridging
Absolutely.
that gap. That's the gap.
Yes.
You're trying to create that
Yeah.
bridge
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
help them get there. And
Exactly.
the accountability piece is.
I was just about to say that. Being a personal trainer, I mean, I think when you know, like, okay, for you and I, we're Division I athletes. Yeah, we knew how to go to a gym and work out, and we knew all the benefits of it. But if I worked with a personal trainer, I was going to work harder during that time. I was going to get more out of that session. And I knew at the end of it, right, if I had said on Thursday that I was going to be there at 9 a.m., I'm going to be there Thursday at 9 a.m. So when you work with an executive coach, you know in 2 weeks, hey, I'm going to meet with Lauren. I'm going to meet with that executive coach. I said I was going to do these 2 first steps, which do connect to my heart, but they're really hard steps. You know, they're challenging. They're things that I have to make time for, or going to be difficult conversations, or I'm going to have to spend some time on really reframing my perspective. That accountability of that meeting often will push that person just in that direction to do something that ends up being valuable to them.
Of course, you're making them stop, not even in the meeting, but you're making them pause. To focus on what you're working on.
Right.
So it's because, oh my goodness, with everyone that you've worked with and that you've partnered with and that you've helped, what have you found the most fulfilling in this experience so far?
I love that you brought that up, because I just had a session with a client, and wow, like right in reading, we do prep forms, so it just helps them kind of gather their thoughts about, you know, what has gone on for them. And it also helps me prepare for the session. So she shared the prep form. I'm reading through it. I'm like, wow, she's made like a lot of strides in the direction she wants to. But you don't know, you know, sometimes you can read it and have a perspective and like, wow, what great progress for her. But you're not sure how they're going to show up. You know, is it the progress they wanted? Is it, you know, but she just looked lighter and happier. And you could see, I mean, in the first minute. So the joy, I even get chills right now, like the joy I had and just like seeing her and then talk about it, like just the success she had, how much better she felt. It was, I mean, that's why I love being an executive coach, you know?
And it's like the impact, you've always made an impact, like you said, from the first time I met you, and even today, you said community. You've always wanted people surrounding you. So your impact is maybe on one person, but that one person still, it's affecting, impacting whoever is in their life. So has that been a struggle for you, where you're more on this one-on-one type of relationship versus more people, or is this like, wow, I have found my niche, I have like embraced this, and I'm like, how is that?
I think I enjoy it in that I think my nature is to try to find how I'm alike with that person, and so then it becomes a we. You know, like we are doing this together, not like I'm helping you attain your goals. It's more, what can we do together? And so when I put it in that framework of, you know, either I'm working with a college coach, so there's a we there, because there's certainly a likeness there. Whether I'm working with a professional mom boss, you know, there's a likeness there. So it's a we.
You know, it's right away. The coaches and the mentors I've had, it's that connection.
And even if I'm working with a man, there's likeness in how he shows up for his family, or trying to do the best he can, or a leader or an achiever. You know, I try to look for those things that don't set us apart, but that are similarities between that client that I'm working with.
For our people listening, what type of people have been reaching out to who you work with?
A variety. So at first it was college coaches were kind of that primary market of people. But then kind of recently, how you and I connected a little more is they said, why don't I get my name more out there within the Albany area? You know, I have some wonderful, awesome people right around me. And so I started to do that. And even within that time, in the last 2 months, I've gotten clients within the Albany area. I think the tendency is for women to certainly be a little more open to, you know, the process in general. But I think moms and professionals are a little more, you know, attracted to this is a good fit for me. And so that primarily, you know, I've done workshops for a fair amount of men, but I would love a first-time client that's a man if they're out there, but but it's mostly women, just because I think that's the nature of, there's a likeness there that's very real and connected. And so, I have both college coaches, professional women, and I've done both in the Albany area. I do Zoom sessions, so it can happen wherever. Okay. I do workshops. I have a couple coming up. One I'm doing for a college team. Actually, I have 3 coming up. I have one I'm doing for a college team, one I'm doing for a private high school and all their coaches.
I was just going to ask you, have you tapped into the local high schools?
So that is actually a New York City private high school, but I haven't had, but I think it's a great,
I think it would be fantastic.
Yeah. It's just, hopefully first people have to, one, they have to know it's out there, right? 2, they have to feel like this would add value. And then do you have the money?
It's the education, it's the awareness. Yeah. And this is why we're here, because you're listening. Yeah. We are going to get more workshops. We're going to do more together. Yeah, I'm so excited.
I would love it. Yeah, we're a perfect fit. There's no doubt about it.
I know.
Yeah.
I want to, gosh, we could talk longer, and we're at over an hour, but we're going to finish with a this or that.
Okay.
All right, don't look at my.
Okay.
Ready?
I won't. Yeah.
This or that, you choose one.
Okay.
Simple. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay. Offense or defense?
Oh, that's hard. Offense.
Ooh. You were the shooting guard.
No, point guard. Yeah. I wanted the ball in my hands making decisions. And I was slow laterally. So defense,
really?
I was fast in the open floor, but guarding someone,
God.
I kind of had to be a little dirty.
Do you ever play rec a little bit?
No, I don't. I used to play when I coached. I would play a little bit, but I haven't played and I coach my daughter's 3rd grade team now, so I get out there and make them guard me.
Cheers. Look at us. Yeah. We both coach.
That's a hard job
teams.
Right there. It's a hard job. Put the ball in your belly, eyes up here. Put your ball in the Don't dribble the ball.
God, Lauren, I was just saying to the head coach, and I'm her assistant coach, I'm like, this is probably the hardest age, because there's a mix of girls on the team where they're, some are more needing more challenge, more cuddled. But I forgot you're coaching.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Family game night or movie marathon?
Movie marathon.
Networking brunch or empowering workshop?
Empowering workshop.
Mentorship or collaboration?
Man.
I know. Made it hard on purpose.
Yeah, that one's really hard for me. Mentorship.
Okay. Leading the charge or working behind the scenes?
Leading the charge.
Hell yeah, girl. There she is. She's back at it. Girls' Night In or Women's Empowerment Conference?
Women's Empowerment Conference.
Book or podcast?
Podcast.
Serena Williams or Simone Biles?
Ooh, Serena.
Beyonce or Taylor Swift?
Oh, Beyonce.
Do your children listen to?
Yeah, Maggie knows so she is who you'd want on your team if you had to finish the line of a pop song. She just has that memory. Colleen has it too. You could so she loves pop music. She loves Taylor Swift. She loves really any sort of pop music in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, she'd probably lean a little more. I don't know if she's heard as much Beyonce. But I love Beyonce. I mean, she's just so powerful.
That's our time too.
Yeah, she's just so powerful.
Queen Bee.
Yeah.
Sticky notes or digital calendar?
I'm not sure which works for me. I'm not sure neither. I'm not sure. I have both. Because I'm not sure which one works. I don't know.
I just made these thinking are we really that much alike?
Yeah. I'm not sure I'm winning with either. But I guess the digital.
You always go back to the winning mentality too. Isn't it so hard?
Yeah, I guess the digital.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. Last one, mom guilt or work guilt? It's a hard one.
I think work guilt more for me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because I
don't know why I ended on that one.
Yeah.
But I don't even like guilt.
Yeah.
We're trying to get over this.
Yeah. But I think
guilt.
that I'm transitioning out of giving all my time to my kids.
Yeah.
I mean, when they're home, I'm there. I'm not trying to split anything else. I'm transitioning out of trying, and I'm having to split a little more.
Yeah.
And so I feel in the back of my head, I've given them a lot of time, so just being able, I think the work guilt just comes around am I doing what I need to do to give the most I can to my clients, to the work, to the, so just learning how to process do that, the process for doing that. I think I'm in the process of figuring out what best works.
Well, your story is so inspirational. It's so empowering. And your website, what is your website? You can share it. We'll put it in the notes as well.
Yep. So riseabovecoaching.net.
Okay. Is there any other information you want to share, or anything that you want to promote, or anything from your coaching business as well?
Yeah. I think that executive coaching is for everyone. You know, you can be an executive, you can be not an executive, just somebody trying to go from whatever their current reality is to where they want to head. And so it is a service that, it doesn't have to be a boutique service. You know, I want to work, I can work with people and make it affordable because it's something I love doing. So if you're interested in that sort of work, you know, just contact me. I also do workshops. I'm doing one for a local law firm that I'm really excited about. Again, another mom boss, Linnell Bosworth, has helped me set this up. And we met talking about soccer moms. Her, you know, like I coach her kid on the basketball team, and she's dynamite. And, you know, I think she saw what I'm doing and really wants to support it. And so if you have an organization where you feel like doing one of these workshops, I have some of the ideas posted, but the world is the oyster around the workshop. Like, you tell me what your group needs and we'll create something that'll add value and can kind of, you know, get that group to just reframe, give them new tools, and, you know, really make it work for your organization. And
you're going to be winning because that is what comes out of that is your mentality.
Right. You just, well, and it's process and it's progress, and it doesn't have to be black and white on the scoreboard. It's, you know, again, it's part of this client I just worked with. She was able to just look at something a different way, and it gave her such freedom. That's winning.
Different lens. Yeah,
that's
absolutely,
winning.
Yeah.
And that joy it brought.
Last question. Any advice that you would give to mom bosses out there, moms out there, anyone?
Yeah. Give yourself some grace, man. Like, give yourself some grace. Like, I think everyone's doing the best they can, and just give yourself some grace. Put one foot in front of the other, and show up for your kids and show up for your work the best you can in that day, and give yourself some grace. I think is the one piece of advice I give.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And
thanks for doing this, Britt. This is wonderful what you do, what you're about. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I will put all of your information in the notes, and even like Instagram or Facebook, all that stuff. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to Lauren. She is incredible, and I hope you enjoyed her impactful story. Until next time, keep maximizing your mom boss potential.